Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Swati and I'm here to do our case study for data analysis and assessment. So the first part of this is the problem identification and analysis, and to identify the things that we know. So the first thing we know is that Truman Elementary is the largest elementary school within the district. There are 700 students that attend Truman Elementary, and they're split into 3 grade level classrooms, but 7th and 8th graders split into 2 teams. 15% of the student population at Truman receive free and reduced lunch, and 5% are non-native English speakers. So we don't have high English language learners, we don't have a high-low socioeconomic status group within Truman Elementary. We also know that reading scores have decreased and are significantly different from their math scores, but the reading scores have decreased from grade to grade as well as in a moving cohort. PTO, we know that parents are not satisfied with the reading instruction and the reading scores for their students, and that the PTO president has asked the principal to come to a meeting to discuss this. What we know about our principal is that he or she has been at Truman for 2 years. The principal observed the classrooms during reading instruction and then has identified areas for improvement. And the principal has also asked the reading supervisor for the district to come and to observe in order to provide some independent second look, second opinions on the reading instruction. We also know that the State Department of Education has made an announcement that there is a grant available to improve reading instruction. And it looks like Truman would be a good candidate for this grant. What do I need to know? I need to know why the teachers are not teaching phonics or phonetic-based skills, things that research says are great. I also would like to know, when comparing Truman's demographics with that of the district and state, where do they stand? So what does their building look like when compared to the rest of the state? I also myself would like to know how many of these students received early intervention or preschool services. If none of them received any of that, you're starting at a different level than if everyone had received preschool or early intervention services. I also would like to know what the building schedule or daily schedule looks like, how many opportunities there are for reading instruction throughout the school day, and are there things that could be done to make more opportunities for reading instruction. So then we have to identify the problem. And I feel like the problem in this case is system-wide. I feel like at the district level, the administrative level, and then at the instructor level and teacher level, nobody is really valuing the importance of using research-based programming and curriculum for English language arts instruction. And it would seem that the reading data that has been collected supports the idea of this. So it's definitely a problem, and so we have to create a plan to try and remedy this problem. So the first thing that I would do as an administrator is start researching myself, researching evidence-based reading programs. I would have my teachers working right alongside me with this. I would hope that the reading specialist was working right alongside with this as well. And so we would identify programs that could meet the needs of our current students as well as those of future students. And it would be important to find programs that could help us fill the gaps that we are probably missing from a lack of phonics instruction. In addition to just looking for programs, the other thing I think it would be good to research would be just strategies, evidence-based reading strategies for instruction, because those don't cost anything. That's just something that you could start to implement. Next, I would choose a program and implement all elements possible district-wide without purchasing the program. And so if you can look at a program and say, okay, they have this kind of instruction going on every day, is that something that we can add into our own curriculum right now? And so that's what I would do. And I would plan for some additional in-service days at the beginning of the year to provide training on the program for teachers, and also on any new strategies that you would like your teachers to implement. Then I would continue analyzing the past and current data, and I would try to identify some trends or pinpoint some specific reasons for the discrepancy between reading and math performance. And that's something that should be ongoing, but I just don't want to leave it out of this plan as well, because that will be an important part of making this successful. After that, I would definitely apply for that grant. I would submit that grant application for the new reading program and make sure that all the paperwork was filled out on time, and that you completed all of the guidelines and the requirements set forth in that grant application process. Then I would really look closely at that building schedule. I would review that current schedule, determine if there are ways to schedule the specials classes, recess, and lunch that would allow for more reading instruction during the day, and probably problem solve with the teachers on that as well. And finally, I would meet with PTO and parents. Regardless of whether Truman would receive the grant, I believe there are changes that can be made to their reading instruction that would cost very little to nothing. Leveling reading groups, phonics instruction, adding in just research-based strategies could all be implemented. And then when I would talk about with PTO how we were going to continue to analyze the data to make sure that what we were doing was successful. And if it wasn't, again, kind of go through that whole process again of researching, okay, what else can we do? So, problem resolution, and promoting the success of all students, we think about what is best for our students. It's best for the students at Truman to receive instruction in phonics and phonetics. It just is. And it's best for the students to receive both whole group instruction that's on grade level and small group instruction at their individual levels. So that is something that would be best for students. And it is best for students if their teachers are trained in research-based English language arts instruction and strategies. So by conducting the research on new evidence-based practices for reading instruction, the administration and the teachers are ensuring that students receive instruction that has the research to support its use, and that's going to promote success for all students. By reviewing the data, Truman teachers and administrators could identify ways to change the current practices, even without changing their curriculum, which could help save the district money in budgeting, but still promote the success for all students. By applying for that state-funded grant, Truman would be utilizing all available resources to make sure that students had access to the best reading instruction available and reading curriculum available. And by reviewing the building schedule for ways to block out protected time for reading instruction, ensures that students have as many opportunities as possible for the development of reading skills throughout their school day. So then, debriefing the problem, our thoughts, feelings, and values. What was I thinking? I think that the data collected reveals that reading instruction is really lacking at this elementary building, and that changes have to be made from the top down. What was I feeling? I was frustrated for the way that teachers were either asked to instruct their students or were choosing to instruct their students. And then I value the use of research-based strategies for reading instruction. And any unresolved issues or further investigation. Were the changes that were made to the schedule to allow for more reading instruction effective? Did Truman get any of that grant money? And what did the data reveal after those small changes would have been made? Things to further investigate, ways to improve overall reading outcomes for students. I don't think that that's something that you ever just stop doing. It's something that as an administrator and as a district, you just have to continue to do that. I would further investigate additional interventions that could continue to fill in any of the gaps that our current students have from our lack of research-based instruction prior to this situation coming up. And I would continue to look for grants that could help the school district support reading instruction. Then looking at some examples of how we were promoting the success for all students by acting as agents for continuous improvement. By sending in the reading coach to observe the classes during reading instruction, I believe that administrator would be utilizing the expertise of the reading coach or the reading specialist that would mutually benefit both the teachers and the students. If the reading specialist can come in and say, this is what I saw you do and this is what I think you can do to make this better, as a teacher, I think that would be a perfect way to just make your instruction more effective. And then of course it's going to benefit the students as well. Also, by working with teachers to research some of that evidence-based reading instruction, I believe that administrator would be working to promote the students' academic success as a collaborative team. And then by communicating with the PTO throughout the process of identifying a new reading program, the administration is definitely engaging families and the community to promote the success for all students. In addition, looking at the data to determine areas to change the reading instruction prior to notification of the grant will immediately benefit the students. So even if you know we're going to submit this grant, but we can start adding in some phonics instruction right away, or we can start having a leveled reading time, right away. Those things immediately can benefit the students. And you would use the data that you have collected to identify, okay, how are we going to split these kids up? Also, by identifying the best program that would fit the students' needs while still using research-based approaches, could also promote the success for all students. And by monitoring the data and evaluating it continually, the administration is ensuring that students are receiving the best instruction possible. Because if you're continually looking at that data, you can see, okay, we started these level reading groups and things are going great. This data is showing that this is really helping. Then you know, okay, next year this is something that has to be built into the schedule. Also, by collaborating with a reading specialist, the administrator is going to be enlisting the help of someone from the district who could help with the decision-making process district-wide. So by having her come in and see what's going on in day-to-day in the classroom, she could go back to your district leader and your district administration and say, we need to do something different here because this is what I saw. Also, by working with the PTA president along with members of the PTA, the administrator is creating productive relationships with parents and community members. And by applying for that state-funded grant, the administrator is going to be utilizing outside resources for the improvement of student learning outcomes. And in addition, he or she would be complying with some of the state guidelines for that grant application. So as a future administrator, it's important that we are all aware of how every decision that we make, how it either supports or prevents the success for all students. And personally, just thinking about this case, for me, it is imperative to use evidence-based practice when it comes to instruction. It doesn't matter what type of instruction. In special education, everything that I do, I have to have research that supports it, that says, there's a reason why I'm taking this approach. And as a future administrator, I think it's essential to continue to look at the data in my building or in my classroom to determine if any changes need to be made that would continue to promote the success for all students. So that's what I think is just so essential, and I think this case study is a perfect example of that. Thank you.